The decision by Rangers to part ways with Russell Martin earlier this month has sent shockwaves through Scottish football, not just for what it means on the pitch, but for the financial and strategic ripple effects now unfolding behind the scenes. On the surface, it may seem like another routine managerial change, something that clubs of Rangers' stature have dealt with countless times. But dig a little deeper, and the true complexity of this sacking starts to reveal itself. What really drove the Rangers board to act so quickly? How much did it cost to cut ties? And what kind of reset are we looking at from here? Martin's exit, abrupt as it was, didn't come out of the blue. His time at Ibrox had been under scrutiny for weeks, if not months. Appointed with hopes of bringing a more structured, possession-focused style of play to the team, his vision was one that many believe could modernize Rangers' approach. But in football, theory only goes so far. What matters is execution and results. And unfortunately for Martin, neither were convincing. From the very start of the season, performances were patchy. The tempo was off. The chemistry felt forced. And while Martin's intentions may have been clear, his ability to adapt to the realities of Scottish football seemed far less certain. The tipping point came in that 1-1 draw against Falkirk. On paper, it might look like just another disappointing result in a rocky campaign. But symbolically, it said everything about the disconnect that had formed between the team, the manager, and the supporters. The mood around Ibrox had shifted dramatically, and you could feel it in the stands. Boos echoed louder, questions became more pointed, and faith was running thin. One win from 7 matches in the Scottish Premiership simply wasn't good enough. Not for a club that defines itself by silverware and pride. And with mounting protests and visible frustration within the fanbase, the board was left with little choice. Of course, sacking a manager isn't just about what happens on the pitch. There are always financial strings attached. Behind closed doors, clubs like Rangers must weigh the cost of keeping a struggling coach against the long-term risks of allowing the situation to spiral. It's never an easy call, and in Martin's case, it certainly wasn't cheap. But as former Manchester City advisor Stefan Borson pointed out, these are the kinds of decisions that can't be made by accountants alone. The life of a football manager is always one step away from the edge, and when the writing's on the wall, the damage of waiting too long often outweighs the cost of acting fast. Borson suggested that the deal Rangers had with Martin was likely structured to limit financial exposure, probably a fixed payout based on months of notice, rather than a full contract settlement. If that's the case, the club might have managed to part ways on relatively controlled terms, perhaps something along the lines of 6 to 12 months of compensation. Still a hit, no doubt, but one they considered manageable in the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about money, it was about direction. And with the team drifting, the club had to make a stand. But sacking a manager is only half the story. The other half is figuring out who comes next. And that's where things get even more interesting. With Steven Gerrard officially ruling himself out of a return to Ibrox, the list of options has narrowed, but not in a way that inspires immediate clarity. Names like Derek McInnes and Stephen Robinson have emerged as serious contenders, with growing support from those who believe Rangers need someone who not only knows the Scottish game, but understands the culture of the club. Ally McCoist, never one to shy away from honest commentary, gave his thoughts during a recent call-in, saying that both McInnes and Robinson would be solid picks. And it's hard to argue with that. McInnes has Hearts sitting top of the table and brings a wealth of Premiership experience. Robinson, meanwhile, continues to quietly impress at St. Mirren, getting the most out of his squad with tactical discipline and a clear identity. Neither name will blow fans away with glamour, but both could offer stability, and after the chaos of the past few seasons, that might be exactly what Rangers need. McCoist went further, pointing out that Rangers don't just need a good manager, they need someone who gets it. Not necessarily someone who grew up a Rangers supporter or played for the club, but someone who understands what Ibrox stands for. Someone who knows the expectations, who respects the traditions, and who can connect with the fans. Because right now, that connection feels frayed. And if the club wants to move forward, that bridge needs rebuilding fast. The fact is, Rangers have been chasing stability ever since Steven Gerrard left in 2021. His tenure brought a much-needed league title and a sense of direction, but his departure triggered a period of instability that has yet to be fully corrected. Each new appointment since then has carried promise but failed to deliver. And now, with another manager out the door, the board is once again under pressure to get it right. Meanwhile, off the pitch, there's been movement too. Former sporting director Ross Wilson, who had previously overseen football operations at Ibrox, has now landed at Newcastle United. His appointment as head of football at St James Park signals a new chapter for the Scotsman, who left Nottingham Forest earlier this year. Newcastle CEO was full of praise, calling Wilson a proven leader with the experience to drive strategic growth. Wilson himself spoke with enthusiasm about the opportunity, pointing to the ambition of the club and his excitement to help shape its future. While Wilson's exit from Rangers wasn't met with universal applause, it's clear he left a mark, especially in terms of structure and player development. His move to Newcastle suggests that, behind the scenes, he remains a respected figure in football administration. And with Newcastle continuing their push to become a Premier League powerhouse, Wilson now finds himself part of one of the most ambitious projects in English football. Back at Ibrox, though, the focus remains squarely on the dugout. The next appointment could shape not just the rest of the season, but the next few years of the club's trajectory. With no European nights to fall back on and no margin for error in the league, Rangers need more than a coach. They need a leader. Someone who can unify the dressing room, restore belief in the stands, and re-establish the identity that has felt diluted in recent months. As Rangers begin yet another reset, there's a heavy sense of urgency creeping in. Not just from the supporters, who've grown weary of the constant cycle of hope and disappointment, but from within the walls of the club itself. The feeling is unmistakable. The next step has to be the right one. There's no more room for half measures or short-term thinking. The board can no longer afford to gamble on philosophy over practicality or vision over results. The next manager has to be someone capable of turning things around immediately while still building something sustainable for the long run. It's a tall order, but one that simply has to be met. And while the speculation continues about who will be handed the reins, there's growing pressure on the club's leadership to show not just intent, but clarity. Over the past few seasons, fans have watched their rivals build momentum and consistency, while Rangers have chopped and changed in search of the right formula. This instability has cost them dearly, not just in trophies, but in identity. Supporters are no longer just asking for wins. They're asking for direction, for commitment, for someone who knows how to live the job rather than just manage it. That's why the conversation around someone like Derek McInnes carries weight. His time at Aberdeen may have ended without a major trophy haul, but few can question the consistency and stability he brought to the club during his spell. At Hearts now, he's shown once again that he knows how to build a team that can compete at the top end of the Scottish Premiership. He's pragmatic, experienced, and knows the league better than most. He's not a flashy name, but maybe that's exactly what Rangers need. Someone who knows how to grind, who understands the rhythm of the league, and who won't be overwhelmed by the expectations at Ibrox. Stephen Robinson, on the other hand, is a slightly different profile. What he's managed to do with Street Mirren is nothing short of remarkable given the resources at his disposal. They're not just hanging in the Premiership, they're competing, tactically sound, and fiercely organized. Robinson doesn't court headlines, but the results speak for themselves. If Rangers are serious about finding a manager who can implement structure and consistency, he deserves to be in the conversation. What he lacks in big club experience, he makes up for in discipline, man management, and tactical understanding. But regardless of who eventually lands the job, the reality is that the Rangers board must now operate with a level of transparency and decisiveness that's been missing in recent months. The fans are watching closely. They've seen the club drift before, and they won't accept vague promises or delayed action this time. The appointment must be backed with proper support, not just financially, but structurally. That means aligning the football department from top to bottom, building a cohesive strategy, and ensuring that whoever comes in isn't just left to figure things out on their own. The financial side of things remains a major talking point as well. Russell Martin's exit, while seemingly inevitable, didn't come without a cost. Even if his contract was structured in a way to reduce long-term liabilities, as suggested by Borson, Rangers still had to bite the bullet and pay out. That speaks volumes about just how serious the board was about pulling the plug before things spiraled further. It wasn't a cheap move, and it certainly wasn't taken lightly. But it's a clear message. Mediocrity will not be tolerated, no matter how recently the ink dried on the contract. That said, it's important to acknowledge the risks. Constant managerial changes come with their own cost, not just financial, but cultural. Every time a new coach walks through the door, the squad has to adjust, the backroom staff shifts, and the identity of the team wobbles. That kind of upheaval can't go on forever. The next appointment needs time, space, and most importantly, belief. Not blind belief, but earned trust. Rangers can't afford to go through this again in 6 months' time. This time, it has to stick. Behind the scenes, the task goes beyond hiring a manager. The club needs to re-establish its footballing structure. From scouting to youth development to player recruitment, there must be cohesion. That was something that suffered during Martin's short spell. His ideas didn't quite align with the pace and grit of the Scottish Premiership. His system looked more suited to a league where time on the ball is easier to find. And while the philosophy was noble, the reality of Scottish football quickly exposed its flaws. When possession-based football becomes possession for possession's sake, without purpose or penetration, it turns fans against the project. And that's exactly what happened. Martin may have had the best intentions, but the execution never quite matched. It felt like watching a puzzle with pieces from two different sets. The players looked unsure. The transitions were slow. The creativity in the final third was non-existent. And when that's paired with a leaky defense and mounting pressure from the terraces, the outcome becomes almost inevitable. It's a shame, because Martin came in with genuine belief and a willingness to take on a massive challenge. But at Rangers, goodwill only goes so far. If the results don't follow, the end comes quickly. As the dust settles, there's still plenty of conversation happening around what comes next. Will the board lean towards a safe pair of hands or roll the dice on a younger, more modern thinker? Will they go local or look abroad again? And will this next chapter finally bring the kind of stability that Rangers have been craving since Gerrard's departure? These are the questions that dominate Ibrox right now, and they'll keep echoing until the next man is in place. And more importantly, until the results start to change. For now, the mood around the club remains one of anxious anticipation. The fans are desperate for a reason to believe again. The players need clarity. The board needs to lead. And whoever steps into the hot seat must understand the magnitude of the moment. This is not just another job. It's not just about tactics or team talks. It's about restoring pride. It's about bringing back a sense of belonging. And it's about reconnecting the club with a fan base that's stood by through thick and thin, but now demands more, and rightly so. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. In what can only be described as a shock move in the Scottish and English football circles, John SOUTTAR has reportedly been sold to Brentford in a deal that has left many pundits and fans alike scratching their heads. Sources close to the player suggest that the negotiation was nothing short of lightning fast, catching even the most attentive transfer watchers completely off guard. While no official announcement has been made as of yet, whispers from insiders hint that the Tynecastle defender's move could be a game-changer both for him and for Brentford, who have been quietly aggressive in the market this season. The 26-year-old centre-back, who has long been considered one of Scotland's most promising defensive talents, has spent the majority of his career at Hearts, becoming a fan favorite thanks to his leadership at the back and his knack for crucial interceptions. Rumors indicate that the transfer fee, while undisclosed, is substantial enough to suggest that Brentford sees SOUTTAR not merely as a squad addition, but as a long-term solution to their defensive woes. The speed of the deal has led some insiders to speculate that the Bees may have had their eyes on SOUTTAR for months, quietly lining up a move before Hearts could react. From a tactical standpoint, this acquisition could provide Brentford with the kind of solidity in the heart of defense that has been somewhat elusive in recent campaigns. SOUTTAR's versatility, equally comfortable in a high line or a more traditional back four, could allow Thomas Frank to experiment with defensive setups without losing stability. Meanwhile, Hearts supporters are reportedly stunned, with social media abuzz with reactions ranging from heartbreak to disbelief. Some are questioning whether the club could have done more to retain their star defender, while others see this as a financial win that might pave the way for reinforcements in the squad. While the deal is far from confirmed in the mainstream press, the rumor mills are running at full throttle, with pundits already speculating on the impact this transfer could have on the Premiership as a whole. If Brentford managed to secure SOUTTAR's signature, it might just mark the start of a trend where Scottish talent increasingly moves to mid-tier English sides eager to strengthen their squads with proven quality north of the border. For now, all eyes remain on Brentford and Hearts, waiting for the first official word. But one thing is clear. If this move goes through, it will be remembered as one of the most surprising, whirlwind deals of the transfer window. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.